The day took a shocking turn for the Johnston family when Emma Johnston was suddenly taken into custody. No one expected something this serious to unfold so quickly. One moment the family was going through an ordinary afternoon, and the next moment flashing police lights, officers at the door, and a stunned household created chaos no one was prepared for. Emma, usually cheerful, calm, and always surrounded by her family, found herself at the center of a situation that felt like a nightmare. It all started when two officers arrived at the Johnston home. Amber initially thought it was a misunderstanding, maybe a mistake or simple questioning. But when the officers clearly stated Emma's name and said there was a serious complaint filed against her, Amber froze. Her face drained of color as the weight of their words began to sink in. She kept asking what was going on, but nothing made sense. The officers explained that they couldn't disclose details yet, but Emma needed to go with them immediately for questioning. Emma kept saying she had no idea what they were talking about. She insisted she hadn't done anything wrong. Her voice trembled as she tried to understand why she was suddenly being treated like a suspect. But the officers were firm, they had a warrant, and procedure required them to take her in. Amber's reaction was immediate and emotional. She rushed to Emma, clinging to her, pleading with the officers, and crying, "Please, this is wrong. Emma didn't do anything." The scene was heartbreaking. Trent stepped forward, trying to stay composed, but clearly shaking with anger and fear. He questioned the officers, demanding answers, but they repeated that they were following legal protocol and could not reveal more yet. Emma's siblings stood frozen. Alex and Anna looked stunned, almost unable to process what was happening right in front of them. The moment the officers placed Emma in the police car, the family's world shattered. Amber's cries echoed in the driveway. She kept shouting that she would not leave her daughter alone and that she would go straight to the station to get legal help. The younger kids watched in fear as the car drove away, taking Emma with it. Inside the house, an overwhelming silence took over. Amber collapsed onto the sofa, crying uncontrollably. Her voice was shaky as she kept repeating, "This can't be happening. Not to Emma. She would never do anything like this." Every few seconds, she tried to breathe, but broke down again. The family surrounded her, trying to give her comfort, but they themselves were equally lost and terrified. A short time later, Trent received a call informing him of the accusation against Emma. The complaint involved an online incident, allegedly spreading harmful information and sharing private details about someone. But the family knew Emma. She used social media, but never in a way to hurt anyone. Hearing the accusation only made Amber more devastated. She cried even harder and insisted that someone must have framed Emma. Things grew even more intense when they learned Emma might be held for up to 24 hours during the initial investigation. Amber slammed her hands on the table and cried, "How can they keep her there? She didn't do anything. She's just a kid to me." Her voice cracked with every word. The family tried to calm her, but her despair was overwhelming. Trent and Amber immediately contacted their family lawyer. Amber insisted that she wanted Emma home tonight. No excuses, no delays. But the lawyer explained that the process might take time if the investigation moved forward. Hearing that, Amber's frustration turned into desperation. She shouted, "I won't let her sit in there even for a minute longer." Meanwhile, Emma sat inside the station, crying quietly. She felt scared, confused, and alone. Officers questioned her, but she kept repeating that she didn't know anything about the accusations. Her hands shook, her voice trembled, and she kept asking if her mom was coming. Each moment felt heavier than the last. When Amber finally arrived at the station, she demanded to see her daughter. At first, officials refused, but once the lawyer arrived and requested access, Amber was allowed inside. The moment Emma saw her mother, she ran into her arms, crying uncontrollably. Amber wrapped her tightly and whispered, "I'm here, baby. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Emma sobbed, "Mom, I didn't do anything. Please believe me." Amber held her face gently and said, "I know you didn't. I believe you. I will take you home." That emotional moment showed the depth of a mother's fear and a daughter's helplessness. The two clung to each other as tears streamed down their faces. The rest of the family waited anxiously outside, unsure of what would happen next. This wasn't just a legal issue anymore. This was a family living through a nightmare. The Johnston family now faces a storm they never saw coming. Emma's future, her mental state, the public attention, and Amber's emotional collapse all add to the growing tension. The investigation is still ongoing, and the family is desperately trying to gather evidence to prove Emma's innocence. Amber declared that she would fight until the very end to clear her daughter's name. The audience of 7 Little Johnstons is in shock. Viewers are asking endless questions. What exactly happened? Who filed the complaint? Was Emma really framed? And will Amber be able to bring her daughter home without further damage? Right now, everything remains uncertain. The tension is high. The Johnston family is standing together, determined to protect Emma. Amber refuses to give up, and her tears show just how deeply this situation has crushed her. As the truth slowly begins to unfold, everyone is watching closely, waiting for justice, and hoping Emma will soon walk out free from this nightmare. Hours passed, but nothing felt normal inside the Johnston household. Every sound, every vibration of Trent's phone made Amber jump with fear, hoping for an update about Emma. She sat on the edge of the couch, holding Emma's jacket tightly against her chest, as if keeping it close would somehow protect her daughter. The rest of the family tried to stay calm, but the tension in the room was impossible to ignore. No one was talking. Everyone was just waiting, silently drowning in worry. Back at the station, Emma was moved to a small holding area while officers reviewed her statements. She kept her head down, tears rolling off her face as she tried to breathe slowly and not panic. She remembered Amber's voice telling her, "I'm right here," and clung to those words. But being stuck in a cold room with nothing but fear made everything feel heavier. Emma had never faced anything like this, and the uncertainty was crushing her. Meanwhile, the lawyer was pushing for Emma to be released while the investigation continued. He argued that keeping her locked in without concrete evidence was unfair and unnecessary. Amber stood behind him, trembling with emotion, but determined. She didn't raise her voice this time. Her silence was more powerful. Her eyes said everything. She was not leaving without her daughter. The officer in charge agreed to review the case again and speak to the complainant. That was the first small glimmer of hope in an otherwise dark day. Amber stepped outside for a moment, trying to catch her breath. She leaned against the wall, pressing her hand to her chest, feeling the weight of exhaustion. She whispered, "Emma, just hold on. I'm trying. I promise you I'm trying." At home, the siblings gathered in the living room. Anna tried to reassure Alex, saying that everything would be fine, but even her voice lacked confidence. Liz kept pacing, frustrated that she couldn't do anything to help. "It's not fair," she said under her breath. "Emma doesn't deserve this." No one disagreed. They all knew Emma's heart, kind, honest, innocent. Whatever accusation was against her simply didn't match who she was. Hours later, the lawyer returned with a development. The accuser who filed the complaint had inconsistencies in their statements. Several details didn't match the timeline. When officers confronted them about the contradictions, the person hesitated, becoming less confident in their claims. This shift immediately gave Emma's legal team leverage. Amber felt a surge of hope for the first time that day. "Does that mean she can come home?" she asked with desperate anticipation. The officer explained that they still needed a final review, but it was likely Emma could be released pending further investigation. Amber closed her eyes, letting out a shaky breath. She had been holding herself together for hours, and the news almost made her collapse. Trent stepped beside her, placing a calming hand on her shoulder. "She's coming home," he whispered softly, though even he was fighting back tears. Meanwhile, in the holding room, Emma sat with her hands folded tightly, staring at the door. When an officer walked in and told her there had been a change in status, her heart pounded. She didn't fully understand what that meant, but before she could ask, Amber entered the room with the lawyer behind her. The moment Emma saw her, she rushed into her arms. Amber held her even tighter than before, whispering, "You're coming home with me." Emma cried silently into her mother's shoulder. Her body shook uncontrollably from hours of fear, stress, and sleepless worry. Amber stroked her hair and kept saying, "It's okay. I've got you. You're safe now." The officer handed over paperwork for Emma to sign before release, and though Emma's hands trembled, she signed with relief washing over her face. Walking out of the station was emotional. Emma looked exhausted, drained, but finally relieved. Amber kept one arm wrapped around her the entire time, unwilling to let go for even a second. Trent hurried over when they reached the parking lot, hugging both of them tightly. The family had felt incomplete for hours, and now, finally, Emma was back. On the ride home, Emma stared out the window quietly. The world outside looked the same, but she felt like everything had changed. She finally whispered, "Mom, why did this happen to me?" Amber had no answer. She held Emma's hand and said, "We will find out, and whoever did this will be held accountable." When Emma entered the house, her siblings rushed forward, relieved and emotional. Alex hugged her first, then Anna, then Liz, all surrounding her like a protective shield. Emma managed a weak smile, but couldn't hold back tears. She felt safe again, but the trauma of the day lingered. As the night went on, Trent and Amber sat with the lawyer discussing the next steps. They wanted to clear Emma's name completely and uncover the truth behind the false complaint. The lawyer assured them they had a strong case, especially now that the accuser's story was falling apart. Amber looked toward Emma, who was curled up on the sofa with a blanket, her eyes heavy but calmer. Amber whispered to Trent, "We're going to fight this. I won't let anyone destroy her." Trent nodded, knowing she meant every word. The family wasn't out of the storm yet, but they were together again, and that gave them strength. Whatever comes next, the Johnstons are prepared to defend Emma with everything they have. The truth is starting to reveal itself, and the real story behind the false accusation is just beginning to unfold. 7 Little Johnstons fans are completely disgusted with Emma Johnston's recent behavior. So, what did Emma do recently that has fans utterly livid with her? Emma Johnston is officially an adult now and living her life. However, over the last few weeks, in particular, 7 Little Johnstons fans have pointed things out about her behavior that they don't like. Indeed, many viewers even go as far as to call Emma a mini Amber. 7 Little Johnstons fans know that Amber Johnston and Trent Johnston rule the home with iron fists. However, based on Emma's recent antics, particularly since the family feud with Anna Johnston, many viewers agree that Emma is turning into a nasty person. The way many viewers see it, too much of Amber rubbed off on her youngest daughter. Emma Johnston recently did an Instagram Live with her fans. This is something that many of the cast members do. Anna Johnston even popped in as a commenter to view what her sister had going on. However, despite Anna greeting her sister from the chat, Emma flat out ignored her sibling. This snub by Emma Johnston of her older sister does not sit well with 7 Little Johnstons fans at all. It looked like things were slowly on the mend regarding this feud, as both Anna and Emma shared pics of each other on social media recently. However, with the way that Emma ignored her sister, it points to there still being bad blood. And viewers don't like it one bit. Seven Little Johnstons fans are absolutely livid with Emma Johnston after she publicly snubbed her older sister, Anna Johnston, and viewers had plenty to say about. Viewers of TLC's Seven Little Johnstons have quite literally watched the 5 Johnston kids evolve from youngsters to teenagers in front of their eyes. Has that experience, growing up in front of a camera for a TV reality show, affected them? I'd be crazy to say that. No, it hasn't, because obviously they're out there. Privacy is a little bit exposed, but I don't think that it has had a negative impact. Amber Johnston said in an exclusive interview with The List, according to the Johnston family matriarch, the experience of opening their lives to television viewers has been an overwhelmingly positive one. I think, if anything, it's taught them value, it's taught them work ethic, she explained. When we started this journey, we started it with, this is a job. It's a family job in a sense of family business, and we're all 7 in it. And when we no longer all 7 want to be in it, then it's not going to work, but we must all work together. By embracing the attitude that creating a TLC reality show is akin to running a family business, Seven Little Johnstons Amber Johnston said she's trying to ensure that her children don't get caught up in the trappings of celebrity. Doing the show has literally taught them, since Emma and Alex were 8 years old, the value of working hard, she said of the family's approach to the show that bears their name. And they obviously see when we do, and we produce a product, and obviously monetarily we're paid for it, what it allows us to do. Despite the money that fame and hard work brings, Amber Johnston focuses on keeping her kids grounded. We have kept life very normal to the extent of the kids remained in public school, they were expected to get full-time jobs, Johnston said. Our little kids, they run a full-time online shop of their own. Our biggest mission was that we started as the Johnstons, and we will finish as the Johnstons, she continued. We're not going to become some high-end Kardashians. And our kids, the values and the expectations that we have of our kids before we started the show are going to be the same when we finish the show. One phenomenon that Seven Little Johnstons Amber Johnston has experienced has been meeting viewers who feel they know her, family better than they actually do, and become overly familiar if they happen to encounter the family in public. As she told The List, this sometimes leads to strangers who tell you everything that you're doing wrong. Johnston explained, we get it, probably if we go outside of our bubble, like outside of school work. We get it daily, that they come up, they use our first names and, how they know this and that was done and what we're doing. Amber and Trent Johnston of the TLC hit series Seven Little Johnstons call themselves the real-life Seven Dwarfs, according to a 2012 interview with ABC News. They don't let their unique type of achondroplasia dwarfism define them. Instead, they just let the cameras roll and document their relatively normal lives, even the imperfect moments. Amber and Trent didn't even modify their furniture in their house, and strive to raise our children in the world that's not built for them, as they told ABC News. The couple welcomed children Jonah and Elizabeth, but adopted children Emma, Anna, and Alex. Amber and Trent went to China in 2010 to adopt Emma, but it wasn't so easy. Per Screenrant, they flew to Beijing, then took a 2-hour train to the orphanage where Emma was living. After spending 5 days getting to know each other, they went to Guangzhou to finalize adoption paperwork. Then they flew home to the U.S. She had a meltdown when we left the orphanage, but as soon as we got home, she fit right in and never looked back, Amber told People. As the Season 9 premiere draws closer, fans of the show might be wondering who Emma really is. Keep reading for more details. Seven Little Johnstons star Emma Johnston is 15 years old and was adopted from China when she was just 5, according to her TLC bio. She was the family's last adoption and is free-spirited and full of energy. The TLC cameras capture everything in this family, and fans learned last season that Emma receives injections for an autoimmune disease. Her exact disease is unknown. During season 7, Emma saw a speech therapist to reportedly figure out some communication issues. Emma is seeing the speech therapist today, Dr. Tiffany, to help her confidence and her abilities to get up in front of her group at camp and instruct them and just be able to overall lead them during this summer camp. Her mom Amber said in a clip obtained by Us Weekly, as her speech therapist said, "It seems to me that Emma's language disorder is related just to neurological, to brain functioning, that she processes information a little slower." Emma seemed uncomfortable at the time. "It bothers me when I take forever to answer. I know what I want to say, but I just don't know what the right word is." Emma appears quite confident and even has her own jewelry store on Etsy, Emma's Rings and Things, featuring rings, earrings, bracelets, and plenty of colorful stickers. Like most teenagers, she enjoys perfecting her dance moves on TikTok. She has her challenges, but so does every teen. 7 Little Johnstons fans recently went in on Emma Johnston for insulting her older sister, Anna Johnston. So, what did Emma say to her sister that has viewers so upset? For years on the TLC show, 7 Little Johnstons fans have brought attention to the fact that Anna Johnston appears to be the resident black sheep of her family. Many families have at least one black sheep among their ranks. For a family with as many members as this family has, Anna seems to be the one. 7 Little Johnstons fans have pointed out for years how Amber Johnston seemed to be gunning for Anna, whether it was trying to compete with her regarding academics or something else. Viewers noticed that Amber often got a little too competitive with her daughter. Along with that sense of competition between Amber Johnston and Anna Johnston, the mother and daughter would also get into a lot of fights. For a time, it was incredibly tense between these two. Of course, as viewers have seen, family relations seem better since Anna moved out and bought her own home. However, 7 Little Johnstons fans recently called out Emma Johnston for the way she called Anna Johnston dumb. Anna is far from dumb, as she is one of the most successful members of the entire TLC family, with everything she has accomplished so far while still being in her early 20s. Many viewers feel like that comment from Emma was way out of line. If you look into it even deeper, that negative treatment of Anna could easily be absorbed by someone like Emma, who has witnessed it herself over the years. What often happens with the black sheep of the family is that everyone starts to treat them negatively because that is the norm in the home. So many viewers are calling that out as well, where the systematic maltreatment of Anna is so much the norm that Emma would call her sister dumb like that without so much as a second thought about it. So many viewers are calling that out as well, where the systematic maltreatment of Anna is so much the norm that Emma would call her sister dumb like that without so much as a second thought about it. For the vast majority of 7 Little Johnstons fans, Anna Johnston is their favorite cast member of the entire family. It makes sense why so many viewers took it personally when Emma took a jab at her older sister. Based on fan reactions, they were quick to step up to the plate to defend Anna. The next morning arrived, but the Johnston home still felt heavy with the tension of the previous day. No one had slept well. The fear, the long hours, and the shock of watching Emma led away in handcuffs continued to haunt every corner of the house. Emma woke up early, even before the sun had risen. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the floor, still processing the whirlwind she had just survived. Her hands were cold, and the memory of the holding cell kept flashing through her mind. Amber walked into the room quietly, carrying a cup of warm tea. When she saw Emma awake, she let out a long, emotional sigh and said, "I wish I could take all this pain away from you." Emma tried to smile, but the expression barely formed. She whispered, "I feel like everyone is looking at me differently now, like I did something wrong." Amber shook her head firmly and sat beside her. "You didn't do anything. We know that, and the truth will come out." Downstairs, Trent was already on the phone with the lawyer, gathering the latest updates. There had been progress overnight. Officers had reviewed more of the complainant's information, and inconsistencies kept piling up. Timestamps, screenshots, even the digital trail didn't match Emma's devices. It was becoming clear that someone had used Emma's name or identity to stir trouble. The question now was, who and why? During breakfast, the family tried to keep things calm for Emma, but the silence around the table said everything. No one wanted to mention the incident, afraid it might overwhelm her again. Emma quietly ate a few bites of toast before setting her plate down. She finally said softly, "I feel embarrassed, like the whole world saw me get taken away." Her siblings rushed to reassure her. Anna moved closer, saying, "You're not alone. We're with you no matter what." Later in the afternoon, the lawyer arrived at the house with documents and updates. He explained that digital records were now being examined more closely, and early signs showed that an outsider had accessed the online account involved in the accusations. Emma sat beside Amber, listening carefully. When the lawyer said, "You might have been impersonated," Emma felt a wave of relief, but also confusion. "Why would someone pretend to be me?" she asked, voice cracking. Amber looked furious. Her jaw tightened as she said, "Someone wanted to hurt you, and we're going to find out who." Trent nodded in agreement, trying to stay composed, but visibly angry. The idea that someone deliberately targeted Emma made the entire family even more determined. As evening approached, Emma's emotions finally burst through. She went to her room, closed the door, and cried quietly, overwhelmed with fear, shame, and exhaustion. She didn't want anyone to hear her, but Amber sensed it and slowly opened the door. She found Emma curled up on the bed, shoulders shaking. Amber sat beside her without saying a word and held her tightly until Emma's breathing steadied. Sometimes silence speaks louder than comfort. That same night, the family lawyer received new information from the investigators. The online account tied to the complaint had been accessed using a VPN from a completely different state. Emma wasn't even in that location on the dates listed in the accusation. This development gave the family the strongest relief yet. Trent immediately texted the news to Amber, who showed the message to Emma. For the first time in 2 days, Emma let out a genuine breath of relief. "This proves it," Amber told her. "You didn't do anything. Someone else did this. And now we're getting closer to the truth." Emma nodded, resting her head on her mother's shoulder. The next morning, officers contacted the family, requesting Emma to come in for a brief follow-up statement, not as a suspect, but as a potential victim of online impersonation. This time, Emma didn't feel scared. She walked into the station with her family behind her. No handcuffs, no silence, no confusion, just clarity and strength. When Emma sat across from the officers, she confidently explained everything she knew. Her voice was steadier, her words clearer. She answered questions without hesitation. The officers reassured her that the investigation had shifted, and they were now focusing on tracking the real culprit. They apologized for the emotional distress and explained that protocol sometimes forces tough action before the truth becomes clear. On the way home, Emma stared out the window again, but this time her gaze wasn't full of fear. She felt lighter, though the trauma was still there. Amber squeezed her hand gently and said, "You're stronger than you know." Back at the house, the family hugged her one by one, grateful that the nightmare was slowly fading. Emma's smile returned slightly, though she was still fragile. Trent looked at her and said, "We're not done yet. We're going to finish this. Your name will be cleared completely." Emma nodded, feeling the strength of her family wrapped around her like armor. She knew the road ahead might still be challenging, but she wasn't walking it alone. The truth had begun to surface, and the person who tried to destroy her peace would soon be exposed. The storm was not over, But the clouds were beginning to break. Emma finally felt hope again, and the Johnstons prepared themselves for the final steps toward justice.